Hello, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Anansi Serenja from the Center for Energy, Environment and Engineering, Zambia. We have been the lead institution in the country that were initially trained by NRO in the use of the DIA tool. What you're going to see in the coming slides is the application of the DIA 2 process in the development of the Zambia intended nationally determined contribution, which we submitted to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in September last year. And we have used the DIA 2 process to also design nationally appropriate mitigation actions, 4 of them, and we just completed a 5th one. Then we have also used the tool we are currently using DIA 2 to develop the monitoring and evaluation framework for rural electrification projects here in Zambia. This slide represents on the right side our determined contributions. We have a constrained scenario and a business, and an internationally supported scenario. And then on the right side, there's a picture of some pupils that we photographed in a school which has been electrified by the Rural Electrification Authority. The Zambia DIA process was led by a partnership between the government of Zambia and my institution, the Center for Energy, Environment and Engineering Zambia, to analyze information on climate actions. The initial step was to first establish the partnership between the government of Zambia and the local institution. CEEEZ, where I'm coming from. The next step from there was to build capacity within the CEEEZ so that we could lead the use of the DIA tool in trying to develop the documents that we need. And also, with support from NREL, we were able to use other tools and incorporate all of them into the DIA tool. Capacity building was then followed by recognition of partners, stakeholders, in this case, that were related to the programs which we thought would be included in the INDC process. So we included various partners, as you can see from the slides. Just below, there's key stakeholders. Those are the stakeholders that we identified and later engaged after establishing a partnership with government to help us in concretizing information that we included in the index. So the government prioritized 3 key impacts for assessment, which were based on our national development goals, and these 3 are health, education, and food security. So what CEEEZ had to do was to perform an initial impact assessment using literature review and draft, and then we drafted concept notes for potential impact. these concept notes were shared with key experts and stakeholders at workshops that we organized so that we could get any information, any great information that they had, or any other information to allow us to populate the DIA frameworks, which we were going to use in order to get indicators and impact of the programs that we wanted to implement, and also um, to make our ambitions, to give some of our ambitions some background. In these workshops, we initially started with some kind of initial training on how the DIA2 works, so that as our stakeholders and key experts were giving us feedback, they knew how the information was going to be used in the DIA2 framework. And then the other reasons why we needed to hold these this workshop was to, apart from having to get information and share the DIA framework, we also needed to prioritize some of the projects and programs which were being proposed by the key stakeholders and experts in the workshops. So we had to score and prioritize the impacts based on analysis from this workshop that we had held. And then we needed to go back to our to base so that we could realign all the information that we collected during the workshops and come up with reports which will later be validated in other workshops. So the level of workshops that we had was just local stakeholder workshops. The validation took place at national level, that is for the INDC. The final prioritized action and impacts were later submitted to the Ministry of Lands, Natural Resources and Environmental Protection for approval before they were submitted to the UNFCCC. So 3 programs were prepared for the Zambia INDC based on prioritization by the stakeholders, and these programs include sustainable forest management, sustainable agriculture, and renewable energy and energy efficiency. But in the slide that we have here, we have 2 examples of the sustainable forest management and renewable energy and energy efficiency. As you can see on the right side, the core benefits, sorry, let me just start from the left side. We have the name of the program on the left, the description of the programs in the second from the left. These were based on what the experts had advised us on and the documents that we have within the country. And the objectives as well were also drawn from existing policy works, strategies in the country. Then the core benefits, these are actually based on what we had from the use of the DIA. These were the results that we had come up with, the core benefits associated with the programs that were proposed in the INDC. The INDC, the Zambia INDC is a public document and can be accessed on the website for UNFCCC. Then, as I mentioned, we used the DIA process to also develop our numbers, we had developed 4 numbers. Initially, these were sustainable agriculture, sustainable charcoal production and use, integrated waste management, and mini hydro development. But just recently, we finished developing the number on transport. So the example that we have given for this presentation is for the mini hydro. You will notice that mini hydro is a sector, is a technology under the sector energy. So the 3 areas or the 4 areas of analysis were social, economic, environment, and ease of implementation. The impacts that we recognized as having a bearing in the communities where the projects would be implemented were education, energy access, employment, GHG emissions, just to mention a few. So the DIA framework is one tool which we realize that it can integrate both qualitative information and also quantitative information. Qualitative information is based on what stakeholders and experts brought to us in discussions during workshops. And for qualitative information, we used, for quantitative information, we used another tool called Development Jobs Economic and Development Impacts Assessment, or the JDI tool, which was used to assess the economy, GDP, the number of jobs created. And in this slide, you can see that for employment under economic, there is a specific application for quantitative information which can be filled and has been scored under positive for employment creation. And this is one of the flexibilities of the DIA tool, as it can take on information of different types, qualitative or quantitative, depending on what you have. And we completed these based on the data that was available and also took into consideration other factors. So in the experiences that we have had with the DIA tool for the past 2 years, we have learned that it's very important that we have a government buy-in and a participation across ministries, lines ministries and other agencies. This will help to ensure that analysis informs decision-making and supports movement of climate planning to actual implementation. The DIA process in Zambia specifically, as we have applied it, was based on national goals and circumstances. So the DIA framework, in its flexibility, has allowed us to customize the use of the tool in relation to technologies and impacts of interest, aligning them with national development goals. We also learned that engaging key stakeholders across public, private, technical, and NGO communities early in the process led to more successful results and acceptance. So what we learned also is that early management allows for more time to ensure that the DIA process is well understood and it also allows for the implementing institutions to see where they need support early. So engaging diverse stakeholders can also support breaking down of silos across sectors, especially in relation to positive development impacts that cut across sectors. Identifying local technical institutions to champion and lead analysis and stakeholder engagement is also critical. Choosing an institution that is well known and respected by the public. For example, in our case, the Center for Energy is that institution. Choosing such an institution can support building bridges and linkages across sectors in relation to development impact. The lead technical institute should be well trained, and as I mentioned before, we have been in close contact with NREL, who have ensured that training of CEEEZ, the capacity for CEEEZ to conduct analysis for development of impact and indicators in the various fields that we are involved in is accomplished. One key aspect of success here in Zambia has been the provision of information early in the process to inform broader stakeholder input and engagement. For example, it has been very helpful to provide initial definition of impacts and technologies included in the framework, as well as summaries of analysis and data available on impact of each technology and action. Finally, the DIA framework is known as a living framework because what we have learned from experience is that we can improve on the data and any information that we had collected last year. We can improve on that based on whether there's any more information or there's upcoming information. So improvements can be made whenever information is made available. Sustained engagement with the process can also allow for a robust framework to be developed that can inform comprehensive climate action as well as evaluation of impacts over time. Thank you. I'll now pass on to my colleague, Andrew Chilala from the Rural Electrification Authority.
Hello, Nancy. This is Caroline. I was wondering if Andrew is with you. to present on the REA case?
Yes, he's with me. We're just trying to get settled.
Okay, thank you. So just a brief introduction. What Nancy just presented on the NAMAs and INDCs, it was the use of the DIA framework to help prioritize measures under the INDCs and the NAMAs. And Andrew is going to present on the use of the tool to assess impacts. So it's a little bit of a different use and interesting. So Andrew, whenever you're ready, thank you.
Okay. Don't know whether I say good afternoon. How are you, everyone? I'm going to do a presentation on the piloting of the DIA Visual 2 application to assess impact on projects. This is a collaboration with CEEZ and RIA. My name is Andrew Chilala. I'm the Acting Monitoring and Evaluation Specialist for the Rural Electrification Authority in Zambia. The presentation is as follows. Going to introduce the DIA Visual 2, then on RIA projects, then the collaboration which we have done between RIA and CEEZ, the project which we have selected on the DIA 2, then the methodology in piloting RIA DIA Visual 2. Then the application of the two, lessons learned, future use of the DIA 2, and recommendations. Rural Electrification Authority was established through Rural Electrification Act number 20 of 2003. RIA administers and manages the Rural Electrification Fund, which we are calling the REF. This is a basket where all the donors, cooperating partners put money together to implement projects in a fiscal year. The overall mandate of RIA is to provide electricity infrastructure to rural areas using appropriate technologies, and the technologies are listed below. We have grid extension, mini hydro projects. These are power stations from 200 kilowatt to 10 megawatt. So we develop such power stations. Then we have solar mini grid projects, which will be more highlighted in the presentation. Then we have got isolated solar home system, which are installed in the areas where the grid will not reach those areas now. We use the solar home system to install on public facilities, centers and schools. Then there's biomass and biogas technology, which we haven't yet started. But for wind, we are now exploring wind technology. We're still undertaking a feasibility study. The next slide is on RIA projects. Since inception, RIA has undertaken about 591 projects using grid extension, solar home systems, mini grid, which includes both solar and hydro, as indicated in the table below. So the first table shows the first table. In the table, the first row shows grid extension projects. There are 150, which were financed by the Zambian government at a cost of 600 million 822 937,000 kwacha. All these projects have been completed to supply public facilities and staff houses as well as surrounding communities. So among the 591, we have 13 outstanding projects which commenced late in 2015. They are still ongoing. Then number two, we have another set of grid extension projects which were financed by the European Union at a total cost of 8 million pounds. All projects were completed to supply public facilities, staff houses, as well as the surrounding community. Number three, we have grid extension projects, 5 of them, which were financed by the World Bank project at a total cost of 610 million kwacha, million dollars. All projects were completed to supply electricity to public facilities and staff houses, as well as connection fee subsidy. So under this program, low-income households were also considered for connections. Usually we target government facilities such as houses, schools, rural health centers, but on this one, this has been a special project where a subsidy was applied by the World Bank to connect those houses which can't afford to connect. Then number 4, we have 1 substation which was completed, while 3 are yet to be completed at a total cost of 1 billion kwacha. We also have number 5, which is this isolated solar home system where the grid extension, the grid line will not be extended now, unless in the future going by our rural electrification master plan. So all projects were completed to supply these public facilities, the schools, rural health centers, and staff houses, so that they are motivated to stay in rural areas. Then the 6th one is the solar mini grid. These are a special kind of projects which have been we have been earmarked for implementation in 2016. So civil works are ongoing. These are in a very remote places. Then we also have we also have a mini hydro project. This is the first project we are going to implement. This is a 0.6 megawatt in terms of capacity, 0.6 megawatt, and the cost is $8 million. Preparatory works are underway, and construction of the access road is almost complete in these areas. Then we have number 8, solar under the World Bank projects. These were installed on public facilities, and there was also a subsidy applied to the households where systems were sold to the private households at an affordable rate. Then number 9, we have another set of sustainable solar market package. This is the phase 2, where installation is it's mainly focused on the public facilities, is almost complete. So in total, we have implemented 501 projects. So we go to the next slide. I want to talk about our collaboration working with CEEEZ. RIA has worked with Center for Energy, Environment and Engineering Zambia, CEEEZ, on development projects and programs with low emission of greenhouse gases. The collaboration, which was through a memorandum of understanding, was signed in July 2015, which has enabled the piloting of the DIA Visual 2 on 2 selected RIA projects to identify impacts and indicators that feed into the M&E framework, which we have developed in collaboration with CEEEZ. The DIA Visual 2 was piloted on my Mwene Grid Extension project. This is a project which is about 150 kilometers from the Lusaka city town. Then Mpanda Solar Mini Grid project is about 700 kilometers away from Lusaka. The projects, the Maimone Grid Extension projects involved electricity supply to Maimone, Mumba scheme and Nakasaka basic schools and the rural center called Maimone. So as you can see, the government is targeting the public facilities. This is the model of electrification, the model we are using. We only target public facilities, but the community, they have to apply through the utility company, which is called ZESCO. So on this one, we have connected the associated institution staff houses so that these rural staff were providing services like at the rural health center and at the school. They are motivated to stay in these rural remote areas. Then on Impanta Solar Mini Grid plant, it has a capacity of 60 kilowatt and provide electricity to 480 households and businesses and a clinic and a school within a radius of 1.5 kilometers. So you can see there's a picture for the solar mini grid there, that's Mpanta. Then the grid extension project, that one with the high tension lines, which is the high voltage line. So that's my mini grid extension and the Mpanta solar mini grid with a number of panels. Methodology involved in piloting the RIA DIA Visual 2. The methodology is as follows. A desk review was conducted to establish a preview of the expected technology impacts, indicators, and how much information was available to complete the DIA framework. The Rural Electrification Master Plan, the policy documents, national vision document, the strategy, and other relevant literature were reviewed. So 2 sites, as I mentioned, were visited, which included my Mwene Grid Extension and the Panta Solar Mini Grid projects. So informal interviews were conducted on local stakeholders and beneficiaries within the project implemented in these areas. The DIA Visual 2 was completed after desk review and site visits. So it shows the kind of impact which were collected using the DIA 2. That's the diagrammatic presentation on the impact on the DIA Visual 2. The methodology also involved conducting another interview with the line ministries. This is the ministry in charge of the beneficiary institution where we are taking power. And also there was a workshop which was conducted. Impact and indicators with their qualification were also validated at the workshop held. You can see that's the picture of the workshop conducted. In terms of its application, the DIA Visual Tool led to the identification of impacts and indicators that were currently being used to develop a monitoring and evaluation framework. Among these indicators identified, households with access to electricity, jobs created, hours of study, pupils, attendance were identified. The impacts identified include access to electricity, improved health, education, GHG emission, shows the M1D framework, which is still under development under the the MOU signed, but is yet to be finalized soon. In terms of the lessons learned, through this collaboration, we have learned that initial capacity building for staff in partnering institution eases up work in terms of understanding the specific needs for input in the DIA Visual Tool. The second lesson learned is the DIA Visual Tool is a moving or not a fixed framework that can change as data is made available, hence a good tool for M1D. The third one is a sense of ownership of the document prepared with support of the DIA Visual Tool is created in that definition of impacts indicators is based on the country, national, in case of RIA and institution documents. Future use of will be mainly to continue examining the social, economic, and environmental impact of projects implemented, which will be inputs for the M1D framework. The DIA Visual Tool will support comparison of projects using various technologies, thus comparing impact performance over time. Recommendations. The following are the recommendations arising from the use of the DIA Visual Tool. More capacity building initiatives to be conducted for all stakeholders involved in the energy sector. Then the last recommendation, additional funding is needed to allow for more impact assessment activities on running projects to be carried out. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Nancy, for the very informative presentations. Thank you all who are attending this webinar. We apologize again for the technical difficulties. We're glad we were able to get through the materials, and we wanted to open up for questions and answers in case you have any questions for any of us. If it's more general on development impact assessment framework, I can help to address. If it's more specific to Zambia's process, Andrew or Nancy can help to address. Okay, let's see. I have not seen any questions come up on the chat box. So I'll give a couple more minutes, but if there are no questions, I see one question. Perhaps this question is more specific to Zambia, I would say. It's a question from Alan, and he's asking how the process, the development impact assessment process, links to Zambia's sustainable development goals. Nancy, would you like to answer?
The DIA tool has been linked to the use and application of the tool has been linked to a number of projects in our country, and its development is based on our documents, our main documents, the National Development Plan, and other policy documents. So in terms of sustainable development, its use, the use of the DIA2 is to try and identify the impacts based on our priorities, and also indicators based on those priorities. That's how we have been able to apply it. We have done it before, and since we're working on developing the seventh National Development Plan, we hope to apply the DIA2 for that. So it's basically for the use of identification of impacts and indicators, and also their quantifications.
Thank
I
you.
hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Nancy. There's another question from Claudia. If we are going to be sharing the results of the development impact assessment for the Rural Electrification Authority projects, the solar and grid extension projects that we're mentioning, if this will be publicly available.
Okay.
We are currently working in collaboration with NREL, developing, and we are working on a case study report where we hope to share the results of the two projects which we had to apply, on which we piloted the DIA2. So that is actually in the process.
Great, thank you. So it should be probably, we'll send around the presentation that also contains a little bit of information, but as Nancy mentioned, we are finalizing a case study, and we'll share that with the participants of this webinar. Any other questions? Okay, then I would like to thank you again for staying with us despite the technology problems. If you have any questions regarding the DIA visual tool, how to use it, please feel free to contact any of us. I have showed Sadie's, my colleague Sadie's email on the screen, but you can also contact me or Nancy or Andrew. My email address is Caroline, CAROLINE, Uriarte, that's URIARTE @nrel.gov. We'll send around an email with contact information too. And I also wanted to ask if you can please take a couple minutes to answer the poll that will show up on your screen as you disconnect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we can share. We need to send this to them so that they can post on the website.
Yeah. Yes. So this has already been approved.
Okay. Then let me just send it to them. I'll be joining you. Thank you so much.
Okay, most welcome.
Don't forget to get it from the other side.